Oliver Farry is back again, this time to talk about today's international papers. Good morning again to you, Oliver.
Good morning.
And the fallout from the Panama Papers scandal continues to cause a headache for the British Prime Minister David Cameron.
Yes, last week David Cameron belatedly, and some would say begrudgingly, admitted that he had held shares in an offshore account. Now his government is engulfed with further embarrassment. The Guardian reports that the head of Revenues and Customs, the government department overseeing a £10 million investigation into the Panama Papers, was previously a partner at a city law firm that advised Blairmore Holdings, which is the hedge fund that was run by David Cameron's father. Edward Troup worked for Simmons & Simmons before he joined the civil service in 2004. The paper does point out there is no suggestion Mr Troup acted illegally, but it is a bit of a headache. HMRC says that Mr Troup's role has never involved responsibility for dealing with companies and their tax affairs, and it also says that governing procedure would mean that someone with a conflict of interest would recuse themselves from involvement in the investigation. The Guardian also reminds us that Mr Troup in 1999, before he started working for the taxman, called taxation legalised extortion in a newspaper article.
He said it himself on Sunday. It's been a difficult week for him. How has all this affected David Cameron?
Well, the Guardian's editorial today says that some questions remain over his dealings, particularly whether two £100,000 gifts to him from his mother were the products of offshore investments in Jersey. It does say there's no suggestion he did anything illegally. However, it does continue that he might find he remains tainted in the eyes of voters, both because he dabbled in exotic offshore investments and because for the best part of a week he carried on like a man with something to hide. It all creates, quote, an unsavoury taste of self-serving clubbiness at the top. And now this theme is continued in a column by Aditya Chakraborty, who says the Panama Papers show that the ultra-rich are opting out of society while controlling it. At the root of it, the Panama Papers are not about tax, they're not even about money. What the Panama Papers really depict, he says, is the corruption of our democracy. By taking money offshore, you rob your own society of cash for hospitals, schools, roads, but the super rich are now exercising their voice to set the rules by which the rest of us live, and David Cameron is part of that. He finishes, what the past few days have confirmed is that Cameron is in the Downing Street branch of the super rich.
OK, let's move on to mainland Europe now. Belgian authorities say that Mohamed Abrini, who was the man already wanted in connection with those attacks here in Paris, was charged for his role in the Brussels airport bombing, and also he was the man in the hat.
Yes, the Francophone Belgian daily Le Soir reports that Abrini admitted to investigators that he was the man in the CCTV footage pushing a trolley. Abrini says he threw his jacket into a rubbish bin after fleeing and he sold the hat, which is a little bit odd, that particular detail. Some experts have cast doubt on whether he is indeed the same person, speculating that he might be deceiving police to protect someone else. But the federal prosecutor says the analyses are positive and quote, we obviously don't rely solely on the testimony of a suspect to establish certainty. Elsewhere in the Belgian media, the daily L'Avenir reports that an order to close the Brussels metro had been given on the 22nd of March at 8:10 a.m, which is within minutes of the bombing at Zaventem airport. The minister-president of the Brussels federal region said that calls were made to evacuate the metro, but he didn't say by whom. Now, the STIB, which runs the metro, says it received no calls. Authorities have been criticised for not closing the metro before the bombing shortly after 9 a.m. that day.
OK, Oliver, let's move on to the US. And you found one major paper that's taken aim at the Republican primary candidate, Donald Trump.
Yes, the Boston Globe, which of course was the subject of this year's Oscar-winning film Spotlight, ran a fake front page Saturday, which actually appeared in one of the internal supplement sections that purports to date from 2017, when Trump has been president for more than 2 years. The main headline reads, "Deportations to begin. President Trump says he will deport illegals so fast your head will spin." Other stories on the front page refer to US soldiers refusing orders to kill, quote, ISIS families, a new libel law which targets absolute scum in the press, and in the small print, Donald Trump is on the Nobel Prize shortlist. Now, the Globe is clearly taking sides here. It's a little bit partisan. Its accompanying editorial on Saturday says the GOP must stop Trump. Donald J. Trump's vision for the future of our nation is as deeply disturbing as it is profoundly un-American. If Trump were running such a campaign in a foreign country right now, the US State Department would probably be condemning him. The Globe calls on the Republican Party to refuse to nominate Trump at the convention this summer and choose an honourable and decent man such as House Speaker Paul Ryan or former presidential candidate Mitt Romney. Trump has responded in his inimitable fashion. At a rally in Rochester on Sunday, he called the paper worthless and stupid.
Okay, Oliver Farry, thank you very much for that quick spin there through the international papers.